Hey, normally I'd be doing a video on some legislation that is going on in Madison, something I want to inform you about, but given the shooting at the Lakefront that happened on Sunday, I'd like to just talk about the situation going on in Milwaukee right now instead. Life is sacred. Every life is a universe. But do we treat it that way? What is going on in Milwaukee where we can have violence so normalized that we see the situation we're in? We had hundreds of shootings last year. Um, I believe we're over 30 already this year, and that's just the ones that are reported. Uh, what is going on? What is going on in our community? And we can look at this particular instance and go through the details, try and create a narrative, say, well, was the officer justified? Was this deputy sheriff justified? Was he not justified? Was the driver putting people in harm's way? Were they not putting people in harm's way? What was the absolute kind of details and nature of this? Who's the good person? Who's the bad person? And that's a way as human beings we kind of categorize these things. But ultimately, let's take a step back and just say we know the facts that two people were shot, a firearm was discharged in a very public area with a lot of innocent people around, and that is a very frightening thing. So how do we get here? What put us in that situation? What brought us to a place in our society where that sort of thing can happen over and over and over? Because again, I don't see this as an isolated incident. There's a larger trend of violence going on in our community, and that has to be addressed. And until we address that, we can't keep pretending that we believe life is sacred because we're allowing these universes, these lives to be extinguished, this flame of people to go out over and over and over. And in some cases, mortally wounded or hurt, in various ways. But in this case, we'll see how people are doing health-wise. But over and over and over, we see shootings in Milwaukee, and we see this violence, and it's become the norm, and that cannot stand. So we have to look at a systemic level. What happened to create these systems that are creating these situations? Because again, if this was an isolated incident, if we didn't think there were going to be other shootings going on this summer, and which one you watch in this video, ask yourself this: do you think there'll be another instance of violence? Can you absolutely say, that I am certain, I'm sure, or it's very likely we're not going to have any more violence going on this summer? No, of course not. So we now have a system where we expect that sort of violence. So how are we treating life as sacred? And it is the responsibility of everyone in the community involved. They say, it takes a village to raise a child, sort of mentality. Well, we're all in this together. And it's my fault. And it's your fault. And it's all of our faults. It's our community. And it's up to us to take responsibility. And unfortunately, we are now living in systems with racist educational policies that have one of the largest African American to white, black-white educational disparities in the country. Racist criminal justice systems with some, huge disparities, especially around nonviolent drug offenses between black and white offenders. And we're also one of the, best communities at locking black people up and denying economic opportunities as well. And there's racism in our economic policies. And we're targeting certain areas for huge investment, lots of money. And we're targeting other areas to completely disinvest and hurt them economically. Why is that? And we are allowing these systems to continue, so we are all part of the problem, and we all have to be part of the solution. And I don't think there's a one solution fits all sort of thing for this. It's not just fixing our educational system. It's not just fixing our criminal justice system. It's not just working on community police relations. It's all those and more, but we have to have a big system change. And what would it look like if we had a community where every single family in Milwaukee had access to a $45,000 or $50,000 a year job? Wouldn't that be a game changer? Wouldn't that provide the needs to be met for all these young folks coming up through our community whose parents are struggling to make ends meet? Wouldn't that be something? What else could we do? But right now, we're not looking at that. We are cowards. We go to the funerals, we cry our tears, we pretend life is sacred, but we continue engaging in these systems over and over and over and allowing it to happen over and over and over. And again, if you doubt me, if you don't think that's correct, think to yourself, will there be another act of violence? Can you truly say you don't think so? That there'll be another act of violence this summer? Or many more? Maybe one going on right now, or maybe tomorrow, or maybe next week. And we've allowed for a system where that's normalized, and that's what has to change. So, again, this is kind of out of the norm for me. I normally would be doing a video on some legislation, and I don't have a direct legislative fix to this issue right now. I'm calling on you, our neighbors, our friends and families from all over the community, from Milwaukee and from outside of Milwaukee, to join me in thinking about what systems need to change, what accountability measures need to be put in place, what we can do to come together and figure out a way where we don't have an expectation of more violence each summer. What needs to happen to prevent this? And I'm not just talking about more police officers. I know that's what some of my elected colleagues are calling for. But think about this. If we doubled the cops tomorrow in Milwaukee, would that solve all of our problems? No, because the police, by their nature, are not here to prevent everything. In fact, you call the police after something bad happens. So even with that logic, you're sacrificing, the situation by saying, well, it's already going to happen, and then the police will come respond afterwards. That's not viable. That's not the solution. We really need to take a long, hard look at what systems need to change. And I'd love to hear from you. We all need to come together and come up with some solutions. But the system has to change. This is not acceptable. Life is sacred. Every life is a universe. And we need to start treating it that way.